Good afternoon, Santa Clarita, and everyone else streaming around the world. You're listening to a special broadcast here on KHTS. My name is Alex Urbina. I'm a local life coach here in the city of Santa Clarita. We're going to be talking about a tragedy that happened overnight. Last night, apparently, there was a mass shooting in Las Vegas. It's what's called right now the top list of the worst mass shootings in U.S. history, and it all went down last night as in Las Vegas as people were enjoying themselves at a concert. And so we are getting the phones are going off the hook and ringing, and people are calling in right now and sharing some of the stories and some of the hurt and some of the pain, especially dealing with people that are being affected here in the city of Santa Clarita. We reached out to a bunch of different professionals around Santa Clarita, and we're going to be having a licensed family therapist, and she's a director of the Child and Family Center. Her name is Tina Hendenzadeh, and she's on the phone joining us today. Tina, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Hey, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So the first thing I want to ask you is, how do we deal with this tragedy as a nation? We got people today that woke up and are sick to their stomach, and they can't think clearly at work, and they're kind of their minds spinning, and they're trying to figure out how to make sense of what happened.
Well, first of all, everyone at Child and Family Center want to express our deep condolences to everyone that's been affected by this, and to know that everyone is in our thoughts. But to answer your question, there is no easy way to deal with this situation. It's a horrific situation. And I think if we just allow people to grieve and to share their feelings and their thoughts, that's the best thing that we can do and be supportive for one another.
Yeah, I think in today's world, it's starting to become sort of the norm, and I hate to say that, but it seems to be happening more and more. And I think that by allowing people to have a space or an outlet, or just like a show like here where we're opening up the mics and opening up the phone lines to have people share their frustration, their anger, and creating that opening for people to kind of just get it out.
Absolutely. The best thing to do is just have people talk about it and to have people know that there are people out there to listen, whether it's a family, friend, a therapist, whomever, a parent, teacher, whomever.
Yeah, I like to think that part of healing is having great conversations with other people that you can open up and share your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, what's coming up for you, how you're feeling, some of your fears, and just create an opening and a dialogue. I think if you have some open space to have that kind of conversation, and that can be healing.
Absolutely. The worst thing you want to do is just pretend that it never happened and then be afraid to not talk about something. You want to be there. You want to bring up these conversations, even if it's just like, hey, how's it going? Did you hear what happened? And allow other people to kind of share with you what is going on. Maybe they knew somebody. Maybe they were supposed to be there and they didn't go. So there's a lot of feelings. And just know that there's going to be a lot of different feelings that come up for everybody. There may be a lot of shock, numbness, guilt, anger, and scared. People are scared.
And I also think that it's okay to have those feelings. And I think, if you're listening and you're having those kinds of feelings, just to have someone else tell you, hey, it's okay to feel like that because you're human, because you care, because we're compassionate human beings, and it's okay to feel what you're feeling.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing, is that the other person may exactly feel it the same way, and it's just nice to have validation that you're not alone.
Yeah, so the next question I want to ask you is, from your experience, what's the best way to open up a dialogue to talk to your kids about something like this?
We have to also be cognizant of the age of the child. But it's just being honest with them. They're going to hear about it. Unfortunately, we live in a society where they are privy to social media left and right. So just sitting them down and talking to them and say, hey, did you hear what happened? And I want to just explain to you that something really horrible happened, and it's okay to talk about it, and it's okay for you to ask me questions. I may not have the answers, but I'm here to listen to you.
Yeah, last night, my daughter is a 21-year-old, and she came into the room when everything was happening, and she literally, in front of my face, she turned into a 4-year-old. I can see in her eyes the pain and the hurt and the sadness. And, I immediately, wanted to be that nurturing father. And I didn't have words to say to her. So I just kind of put my arm around her and just gave her that look of a surety, like things are going to be okay. But I felt it was okay to not have the words either, but just to let her know that I'm scared too, and I'm nervous too, and I'm afraid as well. And I think that is kind of the best way, is to let our kids know what we're going through as well.
Absolutely. I think the worst thing to do is just tell them, oh, it's not a big deal, everything is going to be fine. I think they need to see that vulnerability in a parent, and to know that you're there and that you're caring and that you're having similar feelings that they are, and that's okay.
Yeah. Do you think this is now kind of the norm, that we're going to start having more of these, or is just this is kind of the way it's always been? Or what's your thoughts on that?
It's really hard to say. We're hearing more about it because of social media, and we're being more exposed to it. And I hope that it doesn't continue. I hope that it doesn't desensitize people. But, it's hard to say. Just hopefully everybody will get the help that they need and talk to one another and be there for one another so that this doesn't happen again.
I did notice that with social media and with technology in today's world, with people having phones and having instant access to the internet, that people are projecting all the information that's happening in real time. Like, we were literally getting information at our fingertips as it was happening, literally right there on the internet for the whole world to see.
Yeah, and that makes it really hard, especially for the survivors and the people that become overly sensitive to the situation. There is a such thing as overexposure, and that isn't the most helpful thing, especially if someone knows somebody and is going through all of this and has a lot of anxiety about this and a lot of feelings. We wouldn't want them to be on the internet all the time. I mean, it's a great place to get information, but there is such thing as overexposure.
So it sounds like what you're saying to me is that there's a fine line in there. There's a zone where if you need to create an outlet to either talk about it or communicate it or express it, but don't take it past that healthy point to where you become obsessive with it, where it's unhealthy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying.
All right, Tina, we appreciate you taking the time and jumping on the air with us. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So in case you're just joining us, this is a special broadcast that we're having today on KHTS. We're talking about the Las Vegas shooting. It apparently now tops the list of worst mass shootings in U.S. history. And joining me in studio, we have our very special guest, Bob Sherritt's, joining us on this special broadcast. Bob, thanks for coming in today.
Hey, Alex. Can't hear.
You're on. It's okay.
Oh, am I here?
Yeah.
Am I on? I can't hear anything.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll get you turned up in the headphones.
So, as you know, we have the show on at 12 o'clock, and I was sitting out there waiting for the show and listening to what you're talking about. I got to, obviously, it is the most important thing that's happening right now. And this morning, like you were saying, I woke up and heard the news and just had to take a minute. And so everything has changed today in terms of what radio show looks like. So we're just going to roll on through and have people call in on our show as well.
This is real life, and in real life, and as you know, it's not helpful. It's not healthy to suppress your emotions, suppress the things that are coming up for us, not allowing ourselves to experience our experiences. That's the unhealthy way. The healthy way is to talk about it, to create a conversation around it, to figure out what your thoughts are, how you feel about it, and then communicate that and express that. That's the healthy way to do it.
Absolutely. You know, I start our show every week by talking about what to be grateful for, you know, and I woke up this morning and the first thing that came to my mind was my children. You know, first thing that came to my mind. So my boys and I had a little talk this morning about just very age appropriate, you know, they're 5 and 8 years old, of how do you deal with loss? How do you deal with tragedy? You know, what happens when you lose somebody or something, and what does that look like in a healthy manner? And so, of course, after hugging the both of them and shedding some tears and kissing them and getting them off to school, you know, the conversation was exactly what you're saying, is when we bottle things up and we hold on to them, they can do real damage in our lives. And if we don't have a healthy way of expressing what's going on in our life, that can turn into all kinds of difficulties, you know?
Yeah, so for those of you that are listening that are parents and wondering how to talk to your kids, I don't think there's a magical formula. It's just having the courage to open up a dialogue, to create a conversation, and just know that it's okay to feel the way you feel. It's okay to not know what to say or how to say it, but have a starting point. Just open up the conversation. And maybe that's a good starting point, is saying, hey, son, hey, daughter, I don't know how to have this conversation. And just being real and honest and authentic is a good starting point to create a dialogue, or maybe ask questions, asking open-ended questions like, how do you feel? How does this make you feel? What comes up for you? Are you afraid? Just starting the dialogue and get on that road to somewhere. And then what you'll notice is as you get that road going to somewhere, along that road, healing starts to happen in that process.
Well, and I agree with you 100%. You know, the creating a safe space, and I mean, what are the right words to say? You don't know. In the aftermath of something horrific like this and other tragedies, most people are sitting in shock, wondering what the heck just happened and how do we talk about that. So I think just creating a safe space, being able to say to my kids, if there's anything that you need to talk about, I'm here to listen to you. And I think one of the most empowering things that I've ever done, at least with my kids, is to say, I don't know. I don't have the answers, you know. I don't know why something like this would happen. I know that we have some tools to help ourselves by talking to each other in the aftermath of this, to reach out to families that have been directly affected and saying, how can we help you in that as well? And to just be able to let it process, you know, and pray for those that have been affected.
Absolutely. And then there's also the possibility of not saying anything at all. Like last night, when my daughter came into the room, I can see, you know, the look in her eyes. She was afraid, and she was, you know, there was concern, and she was worried. And I didn't have the words, and so I didn't say anything. I just waited for the moment to tell me who I needed to be for her or what words needed to come up. And so I just kind of gave myself permission to experience my experiences and feel what I was feeling, and give her the space to feel what she was feeling, and letting her know that it's okay.
Yeah, and you know, if you're sitting out there listening and you are sitting in shock and don't know what to do, it's okay to not have the words. It's okay to not be able to say anything. But I would encourage anybody who, you know, just anybody at all, to find that person or that place where you can sit and feel safe today and express your feelings with somebody. You know, go to your church, go to your support group, go to your family, whatever that looks like for you. If you need some time alone, if you need to take the day off, whatever that looks like for you, take a walk in nature. Go down by the ocean, whatever that looks like, to connect with that part of us that in the midst of a tragedy like this can oftentimes we got to find the humanity.
Absolutely.
It's hard to see the humanity when something like this happens, but to find the humanity inside of ourselves and to touch that part of ourselves where we can process that.
Yeah. Kyle Jellings joining us in studio. Thanks for coming in today.
Hi, yeah, no problem.
So share with us a little bit about, you have kids.
I do.
And how has this affected you, and have you even had that conversation with your own kids?
I mean, it happened so fast this morning. I kind of woke up, kind of figured out what was going on, and then got here. So I haven't really had time to have that conversation with them, but I showed the headline to my wife because my wife was still sleeping. I showed her the laptop with the headline that said 50 plus dead. And Calvin said, "What happened?" Calvin, my 7-year-old, said, "What happened?" And I told him, I was like, somebody was at a concert and they shot at a bunch of people. And it didn't affect him at all. I don't think he really understands the gravity of it or anything, which is, I feel like, a good thing. But I mean, I was honest with him. My daughter's only 4, and I have a 2-year-old also that not really paying attention to anything like that. But my perspective is, if they ask questions about it, I'm going to try to be as honest as I can. While I need to protect them from the world, and I still think it's important for them to know big stuff like this happens.
Yeah. I actually know some people that were there. I actually have family members that were there. And so last night when the breaking news hit, we immediately jumped on the phone and started making phone calls. And upon receiving the answer, you can hear the desperation and the "I love yous" and the the panic and the terror that was happening on the other side of that phone, and the casinos, and people were hiding in kitchen areas, and they were just going into different wherever they can find a place to hide because they couldn't make sense of what was going on. They couldn't process what was happening. If they ran from that event, nothing was safe. No place was safe. They ran behind a dumpster. They didn't know how many people were actually doing the shooting, and so it was a weird experience to be on the other line trying to calm the other person down. And I can imagine what they felt like to be, not knowing what's happening and just running for your life, and that fight or flight kicks in.
Yeah, and something else that I'm sure that we will get into as these shows go on is not only in the midst of what's happening at the time. I mean, it's got to be completely surreal to be sitting in there just not knowing what's going on, and then to be on the phone trying to console somebody in the middle of that. It's almost like our brains do this odd thing in the middle of tragedy where it kind of slows everything down, everything gets in focus, and you're trying to deal with what's going on right now. That's a natural response. But as we go on in these shows, another thing that we're going to talk about is in the aftermath of that, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be traumatically affected, maybe some for the rest of their life.
Absolutely.
Absolutely you're gonna have some post-traumatic issues that come up, loud noises and screaming and big crowds that are gonna affect people. And so we really need to prepare for that and be aware of that as well.
Yeah, I'm sure there are different stages, and we're going to reach out to some different professionals in the healthcare to talk a little bit more about those things. But, I think that the early stages was a shock.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when we were calling, and we were wondering how come they didn't reach out. Some of them had their phones and they weren't calling anyone. They were just wherever they were bunkered in. They were just stuck. They were in stuck mode.
Well, you said fight or flight earlier.
Yeah, they were fight or
right?
flight, but they literally got stuck. Yeah. And so our call coming in and how they were responding, like I had to tell my wife, hey, they're in shock. They don't know. And so it was a process of noticing a certain stage, and then I'm sure this morning waking up, people are in shock. And then, like you said, coming out of that, there's going to probably be some PTSD for a lot of people. All right, stay tuned for more of this special broadcast right here in your hometown station, KHTS.
Unleash the terror! Six Flags Fright Fest. Horror at every turn with thrills by day, fright by night, and the scariest coasters in the dark. Face your fears in 13 haunted mazes and scare zones, including Suicide Squad, the Six Flags Fright Fest experience, and new this year, spine-chilling encounters in the city of Metropolis. Buy a 2018 season pass and get free admission to Fright Fest, presented by Snickers.
Find the perfect job for you at College of the Canyon's 2017 Job and Career Fair on the COC Valencia campus on Friday, October 6th from 9 a.m. till noon. The fair will feature businesses from a variety of industries looking to fill positions ranging from entry-level to management. While at the fair, meet with employers, visit KHTS's virtual job fair, and attend one of the many career-related workshops. Bring plenty of resumes and dress to impress. Visit cocjobfair.com for more information. That's cocjobfair.com.
Drugs or alcohol abuse can tear a family apart. In Santa Clarita, just like everywhere else, it's an epidemic. The Way Out Recovery is here to help. Call them now at 296-4444 or visit them on the web at thewayoutrecoveryscv.com. The Way Out offers outpatient treatment for adolescents, adults, and family members. The Way Out is compassionate, caring, professional, and confidential. You and your family don't have to suffer any longer. Call The Way Out Recovery now, 296-4444, or visit thewayoutrecoveryscv.com and make an appointment. Asking for help is the first step.
Whatever your goals, College of the Canyons can get you there. Believe it or not, it's not too late to add a class this fall semester. They have transferable 8-week classes starting in October. Know someone who's away at college? Encourage them to get ahead by taking an online class with COC. With 3 campuses to choose from, Valencia, Canyon Country, and online, they make it convenient for you to start your finish. What are you waiting for? Visit canyons.edu/class schedule for class listings.
Men, are you feeling tired, stressed, or just don't have the energy you used to? Did you know this could be related to decreased testosterone levels? Luckily, there's a safe, effective solution. Weeder Prime helps support healthy testosterone levels with clinically tested key ingredients. Just 2 capsules of Weeder Prime each day can help change your mood, energy, focus, body fat, and lean muscle. Feel the way you felt 10, 20, even 30 years ago. Rediscover your Prime with Weeder Prime. To find a retailer near you, visit WeederPrime.com. That's WEIDER Prime.com.
KHTS.
And welcome back to a special broadcast. We're talking about the Las Vegas shooting that happened last night. Joining me in studio is Bob Sheritz. And apparently now it's being reported that it tops the list of worst mass shootings in U.S. history. To think that that is happening, I mean, literally right here in our backyard.
Well, it's hard, it's really been hard. It's really been hard to fathom in the last, I don't know how many years, but there have been, like, it almost, I hate to say this, but it almost seems like this is a trend, or I don't want to use the word normal. I don't want to use that word at all because it's absolutely abnormal and it should never happen. But when you hear about these things, just to have a stat that says it's the worst ever, says that there's been so many of these. And it seems like it's a more common occurrence, which is really, really horrific. And I certainly, I'm not want to get into what that means for our nation, but it's horrible. I mean, how do you deal with something like this where it's the worst one ever, right? And what's going to be next? And those maybe are some of the fears that are going on in people's lives.
But I think that's what terrorists, that's their intention, is to cause terror. It's to cause fear. It's to cause panic. It's to have people not live a normal life. It's to have people be so traumatized and so living out of fear that you don't give yourself permission to go enjoy a Dodger game, or you don't give yourself permission to enjoy your life. And like you said earlier, there are going to be people that are going to be traumatized probably for the rest of their life because their whole world got turned upside down last night.
Right.
That love and freedom and safe space to walk around. Vegas is a space, and it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be, I know, for the casual person that's out there trying to pickpocket you, whatever, you're always watching your back and over your shoulder. But for the most part, you never in a million years would ever think that you'd be enjoying yourself in this open space, enjoying a concert, and something like this would rain down on you like that. we're processing it. And by having dialogues and conversations, it helps you make sense of what's going on so you can wrap your mind around it. It's kind of part of the process.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, it's, I really truly believe that the great majority of the world is good and kind and loving, and that as we walk through our day-to-day life, that we are safe. That we absolutely are safe. And I don't want to live in a world where I am constantly afraid of loud noises or afraid of being in a space, And so for us to be able to process this so that we don't live with that fear is extremely important. Nobody sees something like this coming. Nobody sees something like this coming. We're in a space like at a concert or wherever, and we're enjoying ourselves and we're having fun, and tragedy strikes, and I don't know, I search for the words right now to try to figure out, like, how do you make sense of something like that? And you just can't. You just absolutely can't.
Yeah, maybe it's not about making sense of it, rather than maybe accepting that it happened, right? You can't change anything outside of you. You can't control the world. You can't make the world be the way that you want it to be. But what you can do is look within yourself and ask, how can I give it its own meaning? How can I make the adjustments for myself such that I'm living a life still of freedom and joy and love and acceptance and trust to a certain level where I'm still living a joyous life? And that for me, and I'm going to tell you personally, for me, I've decided a long time ago that I'm going to live my life with trust and love, and and if I give in on that, then they win. And so at some point we have to keep deciding that we got to keep living, and we got to keep trusting, and we got to keep getting out there and enjoying ourselves and taking our kids to picnics and gatherings and all those kinds of things. The real question is, for those people that were there last night and had that traumatic experience, they're going to need some powerful healing. They're going to have to do some work to really get themselves back to that place where they were so joyous and so trusting.
Well, and maybe that's, as an individual, maybe that's my job right now. Is I agree with you. I want to live my life enjoying the world and believing that it's safe and being able to go anywhere I want. I also personally want to make a promise to my kids and anybody else who's in my life that you're absolutely safe with me. I cannot protect you from everything in the world, but I am never going to be the one to cause that damage. I am a safe space. And so maybe as we go through this, my job as an individual living in the community, to be able to offer myself that if anybody needs to talk, that I want to be able to create that safe space, or just sit there and listen to you as you process, that I want to be that safe place for you to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Stay tuned for more. We're actually going to continue this dialogue on your show in the next hour. Thanks for tuning in right here on your hometown station, KHTS.